This video provides a guide to the OSCE process. OSCEs, or Objective Structured Clinical Examinations, test a range of practical and clinical skills, and the aim of the video is to demonstrate how an OSCE runs, i.e. the process. For that reason, the OSCE task in this video is to make a cheese and pickle sandwich, chosen so that the focus is on the OSCE process, not the skill or procedure being assessed. The typical sequence of an OSCE is that first, the student reads a scenario that describes the task. Then, when instructed to do so by the audio system, the student enters the examination station. The student provides their full name when asked by the examiner, and then performs the task, while being watched by the examiner. The examiner completes a checklist, plus a global rating scale in some OSCEs, and the audio system provides a warning when the student has 1 minute remaining. When the student has completed the task, the student must remain in or at the station until the audio system instructs, "Please move on to the next station." At that point, the student moves on to the next station in the circuit. In part 1, we will demonstrate the OSCE with everything done as it should be. There is an automated timer, and in this case the student has 1 minute to read the scenario and is then told to enter the station. The examiner then asks some scripted questions, and then the student performs the task, i.e. makes the sandwich. The examiner is using a checklist to mark the steps that are completed successfully. We'll now watch the scenario all the way through.
You have 1 minute to read the scenario.
The scenario can be read easily within the 1 minute, and it is also printed on different coloured paper for different reading preferences.
You have 5 minutes to complete the task. Please now enter the station and begin the task.
Your name is?
Peter Johnson.
Have you read the scenario?
Yes.
Do you understand what you have to do?
Yes.
Please begin.
You have 1 minute remaining. Please move on to the next station.
The examiner then resets the station, ready for the next student. During the OSCE, the examiner has been completing the OSCE check sheet, at the start confirming the student's name and then entering a 1 or a 0 for each step if completed correctly or not, and at the end ticks one of the options on the global rating scale and may enter a comment in the comment box. In part 2 we run the OSCE again, and this time illustrate some common mistakes in the process. So the sandwich will still be made correctly, more or less, but we'll illustrate some mistakes that apply pretty much to any OSCE, and if forewarned, you can easily avoid these.
You have 5 minutes to complete the task. Please now enter the station and begin the task.
Your name is?
Peter.
Your full name is?
Peter Johnson.
Have you read the scenario?
Yes.
Do you understand what you have to do?
Yes.
Please begin. So we need students to give their full name because there could be several students called Peter in this circuit, and we need the surname as well in order to ensure that we have the correct student for the sheet. We encourage students to say their full name at the time, so it saves losing a few seconds while the examiner has to then ask them for their full name.
Oh, I've not put my gloves on, but in the real thing I would have put my gloves on at that stage.
So we mark students for what they do, not what they say they would have done. So he needs to put the gloves on in order to get the mark.
Am I doing this right?
I'm sorry, I cannot comment. So if a student asks you whether they're doing it right or not, we have just a scripted response, sorry, I cannot comment, because you can't tell them during the OSCE whether they're doing a particular step correctly or not. Okay.
I can't remember what to do now.
Would you like to read the scenario again? Over there. So if a student can't remember what to do next, then we always have a copy of the scenario inside the station, and you can direct the student to that scenario so they can read it, rather than you repeating the scenario to them. Okay.
Oh, I think I was meant to put the pickle on the other slice. Can I start again?
You may start again, but please be aware you must finish this task in the time allowed. So a student can start the station again, but it is in this case, a 5-minute task. And if the student does start again, they run the risk of running out of time. So we have a scripted response if a student asks you if they can start again.
Okay, just to finish, I'm just going to cut it in half.
I'm sorry, you're not permitted to talk during the examination. Okay, so we don't allow students to talk during the examination. The reason for that is what they need to be doing is demonstrating what they do, not just describing what they do. And actually it's easier for them if they do just concentrate on doing rather than talking. Okay.
It's lovely weather outside, isn't it?
I'm sorry, you're not permitted to talk during the examination. So the bit about not talking also applies to general chit-chat. So it's important to just keep the exam professional and quiet and not encourage general chit-chat to start up round the group of stations.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Please remain in the station until the full time is up. So if a student does finish before the full time, they must remain in the station. So we don't allow students to go out and start wandering around. So if a student does try to walk out, please ask them to stop and remain in the station until the timer tells them that they can move on to the next station. So that's how an OSCE works. In other words, the process. It's now time to focus on practicing the procedures. And our top tip is that there are 3 P's: practice, practice, and pass the OSCE.